Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've seen a handful of weapons rise and fall in terms of where they stand in the meta over the past couple of weeks. And today I wanted to break down what I consider to be the new top 10 best weapons in the game and actually ranking them from 10 to 1 to really figure out where maybe your specific favorite weapon stands in the current meta. You're really gonna make me update requires restart now? And we are starting first here at number 10 with the Type 100. Just do want to remind you guys real quick as we go throughout this list today. Right now, all weekend long, my G Fuel discount code WHosImmortal is boosted to get you 30% off your entire orders. So if you want to grab anything at all from the G Fuel site, now is the best time to do so. But yeah, Type 100, yes, it does have realistically the best TTK on paper for all the SMGs pretty much, but it doesn't mean it's easy to use. While it packs a punch and while it has insane damage when we have these 36 Russian short rounds on there, it has some pretty rough recoil, especially horizontally. It also has not the fastest sprint speed or ADS speed, so it is hindered in some ways because it is so powerful, but it still is a beast if you know what you're doing with it, hence why I have it at number 10 here. So I'm gonna go for the recoil booster. You could always maybe try and go for something like a stabilizer if you wanted some better control, or you could even go for a suppressor if you really wanted to, but overall I feel like recoil booster is really the way to go just to maximize the TTK. If you're using this gun, you know that it's going to be a little bit harder to use than some of the other subs. I also go for the rapid barrel. We're going max TTK here, folks. This thing's going to erase everyone. We got the Slate Reflector. As mentioned, there's a good amount of horizontal control. So the T100 stock gonna help out with the ADS speed and that horizontal control. I got the Strife Angled Underbarrel for more of the same. I'm gonna go ahead, run Subsonic to keep me off the map. You could certainly run Hatched if you wanted to, again, to help out primarily with that horizontal control. You could also, though, run Taped if you want some better movement speed, better swap, better sprint to fire, and that's personally what I like out of a sub, so I do run that. Perk 1, I end up going for Fleet here. Again, better movement speed because obviously this is a bit slower. Then Perk 2, we obviously got Quick on there per usual with the SMGs, but considering this is number 10, that should tell you just how competitive this overall meta is. Now at number 9, I've got the Marco. You know, just a season ago, this was arguably the number 1 SMG in the game, up there with the Armagera and the Blixen. It did receive a significant nerf with Season 5's update that to me brought it a lot more in line with some of the other SMGs, but also allowed it to still maintain some dominance in certain areas. I mean, this thing has a great combination of mobility and damage that make it one of the best aggressive SMGs in the game, and that's why I have it here obviously on the top 10 list. Now, of course, when we compare this to some other rifles and LMGs that you're going to see later on in the list, it's a little bit less versatile, hence why you'll notice the first few slots here are SMGs. But we got the recoil booster on there. I'm still running the 240 barrel for the better TTK with that fire rate. Little bit of bounce here with the recoil, but for close range, it's not something that is impossible to use by any means. We got the Slate Reflector on there. We also got the FR stock, better movement, better ADS, better initial control, huge pros out of that. I go ahead and run the Steady Underbarrel. It gives you about 2% increase in control all around. Also helps out with some hip fire here, which is pretty convenient considering how aggressive this gun is and the fact that later on we're going to end up using Gung Ho. I do also have Subsonic in these 64 round drums on there. For my rear grip, again, I am going for Taped. Perk 1, as mentioned, I got Gung Ho. Then Perk 2, I end up going for Quick as always on there. Very aggressive and very strong up close. At number 8, I've got the Armagera, one of my personal favorite SMGs in the game right now. It just is a little bit less consistent than some other SMGs that we'll see later on in this list, but being at the number 8 spot, I mean, that's not a way to discredit it at all. This thing is still a beast, very fast, great mobility all around for ADS speed, for general movement speed, strafe speed. Also, its damage, very consistent too. So here we're going for primarily a TTK loadout, right? We're gonna go for a recoil booster. We're gonna end up using the short barrel here. I got the Slate Reflector. I'm not a huge fan of the iron sights. I go ahead, I run the folding stock now after Skeletal was nerfed, so this is just gonna help out with that movement there. I actually do use the compact underbarrel still though, because tethered with the short barrel, you get some decent strafe speed. I also have these 72 round mags here for the better velocity, better damage. That's really going to help out with that TTK. We got Subsonic. Again, you could go for Hatched if you want some recoil control. If you like, you know, this setup, but you don't like the fact that it has a slight bounce, throw on this. This will help out some there for sure. But you guys know me, I'm all about that speed. We got to go for that Taped grip. Perk 1, I end up going for Hard Scope now because it doesn't really interact much with folding stock here, whereas it did with Skeletal, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Then Perk 2, surprise, surprise, we got Quick on there again. Then next up at number 7, I've got the Blixen. This, in my opinion, is the number 2 SMG, which might give you some little teasers and some foreshadowing for the remainder of the top 10 today. But the Blixen, it's got the combination of everything right now, right? Speed, TTK, decent control. It's checking all the right boxes when it comes to the SMG category. So here I'm going for the recoil booster per usual. I have switched back now to the RMK barrel for the best TTK. Again, a little bit of bounce here, but not something that you can't you know, get used to for close range fights. So you're going to be melting with this thing in pretty much every single close range engagement you get into. We got Slate Reflector, we got the remove stock on there. Again, you could certainly go for the steady underbarrel if you wanted to here to help out with some of that control. Just depends on your level of comfort with the weapon. This is a great choice. Personally, I like Skeletal for that faster ADS and that little bit faster movement. We got the Granco 54, we got some Sonic yet again. Same deal as before. For recoil, go for Hatched. For speed and movement, you can go for Taped. Both of those are really, really good choices. Perk 1, I got Fleet here. Better movement speed, better swap quickness. Perk 2, I got Quick. Yet again, no changes ever happened there for perk 2. Now moving away from some of the SMGs, I got the Cooper here at the number 6 spot. The reason that this isn't higher is primarily because this is meant for mid-range. This really is not a super great long-range weapon, just because of the way that the velocity works and how the damage is over range. It does drop off pretty steeply, but for mid-range, sniper support, rebirth, Fortune's Keep, the Cooper is a top tier choice. You just got to keep in mind the niche that it's sort of meant for between close and medium range, but using it in those engagements, this thing's going to fry. In my opinion, it's more consistent than the Nikita, than the AS44, hence why I have it here on the list instead of those. So here, I got the MX silencer, I got the Cooper custom barrel. Even though this is primarily a long-range barrel or meant for long-range fights, it still really is very aggressive, surprisingly. Like, the cons here, not all that harsh. You could go for a Slate Reflector for, you know, some close and medium range. I like the 2.5 times, but obviously, if you're on console with some of that zoom in on 80 FOV, Slate might be more of a comfortable way to go. Just comes down to what you prefer there. For the stock, I go for Skeletal, keeping it nice and aggressive here, giving it back some of that hybrid properties rather than being more bogged down and heavy rifle variant, if you will. I do go for Skeletal here because the recoil is just so easy, so we get some better movement there. 9mm 60 for that better control, fire rate, ADS speed. I do run Lengthen in this case just to make it a bit more consistent in some medium range fights. Same deal, if you want some better control here, go for Hatched. I find it to be super easy, so I go for Taped. If you're on console, Hatched might be more your style, so it makes it a bit easier to use. Perk 1 here, I'm going to end up going for Tight Grip for that better control during sustained fire. Then perk 2, I actually go for On Hand for that faster aim down sight speed, just to make it a little bit more aggressive. This thing is nice and agile for a rifle setup. Now at number 5, I've got my all-time favorite weapon here in Warzone, which you guys might be tired of hearing about by now, but I'm not going to stop saying it because I love the Grau and it is the king of Warzone and always will be in my mind. But yeah, the Grau after the Season 5 update, feeling solid, feeling strong. It's got a great damage per mag, which to me makes it stand out more than some of the other Modern Warfare rifles. Super low recoil, great damage and velocity over range. Like, this thing, again, checking a lot of the boxes. It would be higher up if it had 10 attachments. Obviously, though, it is limited by having just 5. But we got the monolithic suppressor on here. We got the Archangel barrel. We got to have that VLK 3x optic for long range fights. I go for the Commando foregrip as well to help out with some control, make it even easier to use. Then I got the 60 round mags on here as well. This obviously is the prime long range setup. If you're playing Rebirth or Fortune's Keep, drop the VLK 3x optic, put on the tac laser. You could take advantage of the cleanest iron sights in the game with that Archangel barrel. Now at number 4, I've got the PPSH. I mean, this thing is just the do-it-all SMG right now. It's especially convenient because literally every one of these barrels is viable, and depending on what you want this gun to feel like, any one of these works well for a specific setup. So we'll talk about those last. Initially here, I got the recoil booster. I go for the ISO 3P iron sight variant. If you like the red dot better, go for the Slate. Totally comes down to preference there. I got remove stock. I'm going to go ahead and run Fleet here for that better movement speed yet again, and surprise we got Quick on there as well alongside Taped. We're going to have some Sonic just so we can stay off the map. The Nambu 71 round mags, better control, better fire rate, and then the underbarrel and the barrel are where things sort of depend on what you want this gun to feel like. In my opinion, I go for the max TTK build always, which is the steady underbarrel, and I go for the rapid barrel for the better fire rate there. Although this thing is definitely not the easiest to use. It has this significant amount of control that you'll notice. A more consistent build for most players probably going to be the 230 barrel here. You could certainly stick with the steady underbarrel if you wanted to for some better hip fire and some better control, but in this case you could also go for something like skeletal and get a better ADS and a better movement speed while still having decent control with the 230 barrel on there. This is the more well-rounded build, but the TTK on that rapid barrel is just insane. So whatever you prefer more, go for that one. Now at number 3, I've got the STG, so similar to the Grau in so many ways, but because it is a Vanguard gun, better ADS movement speed, obviously can have that fully loaded with no cons of missing out on, you know, a fifth of your other attachments because you have to use that on there. Like the 10 attachment dominance here very much so shows in the rifle category when you compare some of these meta weapons. But yeah, this thing's got super easy control, great velocity, great damage as well. Just all around very well balanced. We got the MX silencer here at the 760 barrel. We're gonna go ahead and run the 2.5 times. You could do the 3 to 6 if you want to. Even after the nerf, it's still a good choice. 3.25. There's plenty of optic choices at this point in time. We got weighted stock. We got Carver foregrip, the Granco 50 round mags. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in length in there per usual. We got hatched here for the better control. Pine tar also is really good. There is a very minimal amount of horizontal movement on this, so hatched will counteract that pretty much entirely. If you want to just counter the vertical control here because there is so little horizontal movement, pine tar totally viable as well. Perk 1, we got Nerves of Steel. Perk 2, we got fully loaded. You could also go for on hand if you wanted to, but the STG at this point in time, one of the most consistent rifles we got. And speaking of consistency, the automaton is right there as well. I mean, this and the STG, nearly identical. The STG is just a tad bit, I think, harder to use because the control is just a little bit more horizontal. This quite literally is straight vertical. Like, it is so easy to use, it is ridiculous. So here we got the MX silencer. Our 600mm barrel here will make this pattern one of the easiest in the entire game, so any skill level player can really use the automaton and do well. Same deal with the optics. Whatever you are the most comfortable with, always use that. I personally like the 2.5 times. I go for the padded stock here, better control during sustained fire, hence why I also use tight grip on here as well. Perk 2, we got fully loaded, or on hand if you really want that. I'm gonna go ahead, run pine tar here for sure for that vertical recoil. Got the basic 75 round extended mag here. We got lengthened, and then lastly, I got Carver on there as well. This thing is an absolute laser beam, and really one of the easiest and most consistent choices we got. And then we got the beast itself, the UGM, at the number 1 spot. This thing over range is so dominant. Now, in my opinion, I don't think it's really all that broken because the reload and the movement speed and the ADS speed are all so slow here that you have to know how to play this correctly if you want to do well with it. But when it comes to power output, that damage, that TTK, man, this thing is just spicy. We got the MX silencer on here. We got the 736 barrel. Same deal again with the optics here, whatever you prefer the most. We got the anchor stock for the better control during sustained fire. Perk 1, surveil or tight grip. Obviously tight grip, better control yet again. Surveil though, better velocity, making it feel even stronger over range. We got fully loaded here. We've got hatched here. We got the Sakura 125 round box for that better control, better fire rate as well. Just makes that TTK so good. Lengthened, and then finally I got the strife angled underbarrel. That'll help out some with that horizontal movement and make it very straightforward and very easy to use. And that, my friends, right now is how the Warzone meta lays out. Those are the top 10 best weapons in the game. That's gonna wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that sub button, turn on those post notifications, because every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.